Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to today's episode. I have a really fun Q&A episode for you guys today. Actually, these questions that I got for this Q&A are really good. I just asked them a couple of days ago on my Instagram and yeah, they're really good. So, thank you always for asking questions, even the ones that are hard to ask. I'm an open book. I'm here to unfuck this for you and that sometimes means the messy stuff. So, thank you for trusting me with that. Also, I just want to say, I pretty often get messages from you guys saying that the podcast has helped you, you're enjoying it, it's changed your life. But recently, I've been getting just a lot of messages. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking a couple minutes out of your day to send me a message and just let me know that you found the podcast, how you found the podcast. If you want to tell me that, I always think that story is fun. Usually it's something about the title that drew you to it. But yeah, just letting me know that you found it, what episode you listened to first, and that it really spoke to you. It truly means the world to me. And I don't mean to make this sound like the hardest job in the world, but one thing about this job is I am talking to myself in a room currently with no windows. There's no one else here. I'm talking to you in my head. I know you're all sitting in front of me listening, but sometimes it does get to where I do question. I actually questioned the gym confidence series when I was putting it together. I thought, I don't know if anybody's going to use this. This seems like information that I don't know if anybody is going to want. And I got so many messages about the gym confidence series of you guys saying thank you. So now I'm thinking, God, I should really have expanded on that and maybe I will. But I truly appreciate it because I don't know unless you tell me if these episodes are speaking to you, what exactly is speaking to you. So just thank you for leaving a rating, leaving a review, leaving me a comment on Spotify, messaging me on Instagram. Like, I truly appreciate it. I read every single one of them. I try to respond to every single one of them. I think I do, unless I have lost you in my DMs, in which case I invite you to message me again because I do get lost. Anyway, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here. And okay, I could go on and on about that, but let's dive into the questions. There are quite a few, and I want to be able to get through as many as I can in a timely fashion, if that's possible. All right. The first question: is it possible to eat too much protein? I'm always afraid to go over. Technically, you can eat too much protein, but most women I work with are nowhere close to that point. You would have to severely overeat protein, like twice as many grams per body weight. Like, okay, and even then, I don't know if that's even too much for some people, right? It's very much per person. There's not an exact number that it's like, oh, if you eat this much protein, it will kill you. Like, there's, it's not like that. But you can't eat too much. So the bigger issue that I come across with most women is that they are under eating protein. Then they feel hungry. Then they're struggling with cravings, and then they overeat, or they don't recover well from their workouts if they don't overeat. If there's like, I am starving all the time and they don't act on that, that's not always good either, to say, well, I stick with it even though I'm starving, because then your body's not going to recover well. For most active women, a solid protein goal is somewhere between zero point 0.7 and 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. You do not need to obsess over being perfect though, but hitting a consistent protein target will help with muscle recovery, muscle building, fullness, blood sugar, body recomposition, like so many benefits of protein, of course. But it can become too much just from a health standpoint. It can become too much if your protein is crowding out everything else. I do have clients come to me sometimes where, let's say their body weight is 140 pounds and they are consuming 190 grams of protein, just because that's where they quote unquote like to be. That's where their body feels good. That's where their previous coach told them to be. But if you're 140 pounds of body weight, and let's just say that's your goal weight, because we actually don't want to be much smaller than 140 pounds because we're grown ass adult women. And I am smaller than 140 pounds, but I'm also 5'3". So depending on your age, height, weight, right? Like we just don't need to aim to be smaller than 140 pounds. I'll just say it because that's what I think. So if you're 140 pounds and you're consuming 190 grams of protein, that's not like too much from a health standpoint per se. It could be though. Your blood levels, if you're getting your blood tested, you could have issues from consuming too much protein because it is really hard on your body to digest. Aside from that, though, just macro wise, you don't need to be consuming 190 grams of protein if your body weight is 140. Calories wise, there's 4 calories per gram of protein and 4 calories per gram of carbs. If you're consuming 190 grams of protein, you're probably not consuming enough carbs. Like your carbs are probably less than 190. I would rather see that reversed. I would rather see your protein set around 140, maybe 150, anywhere between 130 and 150. If you're weighing 140, again, this is just a bland example, but anywhere between 130 to 150 if you're 140 pounds. And then I would want to see your carbs up to like 190 and then your fats appropriately for your protein goal or for your calorie goal. So protein matters 100%. But if you're worried about consuming too much protein, for one, I doubt that you are unless you have your body weight as a certain amount and you are consuming way over that amount of grams per pound of body weight. I would, because carbs are very important as well, and fats are very important as well. So protein is very important. And yes, you do need to consume enough protein. And yes, it is possible to consume too much physically from a health standpoint. Yes. And also just not hitting your macros in a good way. I have a lot of people that are like, I eat protein. I eat so much protein. I'm consuming way up here, whatever the number is, like way up here, way more than their body weight is of protein. But I really struggle to hit my carbs. Like I just never want carbs. I never want them. It's really hard for me to hit my carbs. I don't care. You have got to start hitting your carbs. You need to bring your protein down a little bit and you need to bring your carbs up a little bit. That's very important for body recomposition as well. So I hope that makes sense. Again, it's not a problem that I see very many women struggle with. I've never had a woman come to me and with a protein goal that I have said that is unhealthy. Do not do that. I have women come to me with a protein goal that they have been hitting from a previous coach where I say, you don't need to be consuming that much. This is why you can get away with less around this amount, and we're going to increase your carbs. It will be more balanced. Your body will be happier. You will be happier physically, mentally. You'll love it. Just trust me. And they do, and they go for it. So I hope that helps. Next question, tips to help someone who struggles with perfection mindset around macros. I thought this was such a good question because the all or nothing mindset and perfectionism mindset, which is the same thing, essentially, it's people feel like they struggle with that, in general with getting your workouts in or the perfect amount of water, the perfect amount of steps. And then a lot of people frame macros as a tool to have food freedom, myself included. And it is a tool to have food freedom. But for some people who have that all or nothing tendency or that perfection mindset, macros can also just become something else to try to be perfect about. And that's not the goal. So if you are someone who struggles with perfection around macros, you probably also struggle with perfection around water, steps, life, working, right? Like probably a lot of things in your life you struggle with, like, if it's not perfect, I shouldn't do it. Or if it's not perfect, I beat myself up about it. This is no different in that sense. So if you struggle with perfection around macros, that is something that you have to work with internally. Why are you trying to be so perfect in general? Let's talk about that. Not today, though, because that's I'm not a therapist. Why are we trying to be so perfect? We need to stop. Secondly, let me just tell you that macros are a tool. You do not pass and you do not fail. They are literally a tool to make sure you are consuming enough proteins, fats, and carbs. You don't have to hit the number perfectly. When I tell my clients, there is no reason for you to worry about being absolutely perfect with your macros because, one, I may have not set them 100% accurate. I'm giving my best guess at the moment with what I'm working with. Yes, after you track for a while, we find your maintenance and you, like I said, I can see your workouts and I can see your movement, your calorie output. Then it gives me a better idea to put your calorie input where it should be. But if let's say you're setting macros for yourself. If you're not a client of mine and you get online and you're looking at my fitness pal and it spits out a number for you, these are the macros you should follow. they are not 100 correct. No macro calculator will be able to get you 100 correct. So there's that. The number that you are trying to achieve and be perfect with, it's not even the 100% correct number. So why are you trying to hit macro numbers that aren't even correct? It's not to say that they're bad. It's just that maybe the macro calculator set you at 140 grams of protein when you should be having 145. Who cares? It's 5 grams difference. But if you're trying to be perfect and hit 140, well, don't do that because you could technically have 145 and literally nothing would happen. Like nothing bad would happen, right? So there's that. 2, your serving size could be a little bit off, so you can't track perfectly anyway. 3, the nutrition labels on the package and or on the app that you're using, they're not correct either. So macro tracking is a best guess tool. That's it. You cannot be perfect with macros. You can't. It's actually impossible unless you put tons of time and tons of years and tons of tracking and tons of information into being 100% accurate and weighing every single thing and, eating only whole foods that you purchased and prepped, and that's a whole different conversation. So yes, technically you can be 100% perfect, I guess. But for the sake of this conversation, you can't be 100%. So the point of trying to be perfect in this situation is absolutely useless. So a couple of tips for that are to create a range instead of one exact number. Again, like I said in the first situation, try to get between 130 to 150 at first. If you get between there, awesome. And if you average it out after the week, right? You're going to zoom out and look at a whole week and you're like, okay, on average, I added up my 7 days of carbs. I divided them by 7 and my average was 162. Great. Then try to hit 160. Like just try to find a round number, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So create a range instead of one exact number. It can be a 5-gram range. It can be a 10-gram range. It can be a 20-gram range. Start wherever you need to and narrow it down. Second thing that will help is to prioritize protein and calories first. So try to hit your calories and try to hit your protein. The other two can just fluctuate. It's fine if they fluctuate. Another thing that you can do is to zoom out on the week. Like I said, don't look at every single day as being a perfect day. Add up the week, look at the entire week and do an average. And if you did it on average for that week, then you're fine. It doesn't matter. Your body doesn't know what day it is anyway, remember? So it doesn't matter. Another thing you could do is stop treating tracking macros like a punishment. Treat macros like guidelines, like goals that you're trying to hit and get close to, but they don't need to be perfect. And then also practice being close enough. This is great because you don't expend the exact same amount of calories every single day. So you don't need to bring in the exact amount of calories or macros every single day. You can be close enough sometimes, most of the time, and you'll be fine. But macros are meant to give you freedom. If you are feeling the perfection mindset around macros, that is something that you need to do a little bit of inner work on. Like, why do I feel like I need to be so perfect with these macros? Christy's literally telling me I don't need to be perfect. Christy's telling me she doesn't try to be perfect and she's fine. So I can start to do that too. That's literally what I had to do for myself years ago when I was in your shoes. So this one will be quick. The next question was, do you wear special shoes for lifting? I didn't know if that was in general question or if that was for me. I do, yes. Yes and no. Do you need to wear special shoes for lifting? Yes and no. You do not want to wear running shoes or really squishy shoes. You want to wear a shoe that is flat and stable. I personally wear Metcons. I wear the Metcon Freeze and just the regular Metcon training shoes. I absolutely love them. Reebok makes training shoes. Noble makes training shoes. Every brand probably makes training shoes as long as they're flat, but they also kind of mold with your feet. If you're doing lunges, and you need your toes to flex, your feet to flex, then that will be good for you. But if you're asking for me personally, I love Metcons. They have a wide enough toe base toe base. Is that what I'm trying to say? For me, because I have some foot issues. And so that really helps. A flat shoe will help you feel more connected to the floor. And so you can push through your feet better with stability rather than if you're wearing Hokas or something that are 2 inches thick on the bottom, you're going to feel like you're flopping all over the place and you're not going to feel stable. That can cause some issues and some injuries. So I hope that helps. Go get yourself some Metcons. They're super cute and comfy, and I love them. Next question. I know I need protein, but how do I find the fat loss calorie goal that will work for me? This is where a lot of people want that magic number. And we've talked about calories already in this episode and protein. And I get that you want that magic number, but there's not. You're going to almost have to go with good enough on this one because fat loss numbers, it can be a range. Ideally, what you would do, and the best place to start doing this is to figure out what your maintenance calories are. So I have a lot of clients right now, actually, I shouldn't say a lot, a couple of clients right now that are in maintenance. They're consuming maintenance calories. We'll say 1,700. Actually, let's say less. We'll say 1,600 calories is their maintenance. So if you start tracking for 7 to 14 days, find your maintenance calories. That is the place to start. That means the amount of food that you can eat while your body weight stays the same. It doesn't mean that you're growing muscle. It doesn't mean that you're losing fat. It's just, we're looking at the overall number of maintenance calories. Okay. From there, you can create a small deficit. There's no perfect fat loss number for you. You're only going to be in a fat loss phase for a little while, and it can be a range. But any amount of calories that you consume less than your maintenance calories are going to be fat loss calories. Now, you can start with 200 calories, anywhere from 200 to 500 calorie deficit for fat loss is where you want to be. Now, in my example of my clients, let's say, I'm pretending, that are eating about 1,600 calories for their maintenance. Some of them are like, okay, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I don't know why I'm not losing fat. I'm maintaining my weight right here. That's exactly right. You are maintaining your weight on these maintenance calories, and we've got you to be very consistent, and you've learned how to use macros as a tool, and you have so many wins within this maintenance column. But you're not losing weight because you're not in a fat loss deficit. You are consuming maintenance calories. If I were to put them in a 200 calorie deficit, they would be then at 1,400 calories. Not going to happen. That's way too low. If I put them in a 500 calorie deficit, they're losing a shit ton of fat at that point, but they're consuming 1,100 calories because their maintenance is 1,600. They're not ready. So I have to look at them and say, you're not ready to be in a fat loss phase, or you're done with your fat loss phase. We are now reversing you up, reverse dieting, in which we will introduce 50 to 100 calories at a time, week by week, to see how much we can increase their calories up to. Let's say we reverse diet this person from 1,600 calories. We get them eating more, maybe a few more steps. We've got them moving more. We've got them, whatever we need to do, just to get their calories up, whatever they want to do. Essentially eating more. Moving more isn't really going to help in that situation, but usually we increase movement a little bit if needed to get them up to more calories. But let's say we get this woman from eating 1,600 week by week by week. Let's say 8 weeks later, 12 weeks later, we have her up at 2,000 calories now. And she's not gaining weight. She's putting on muscle, fat staying the same. These are now her maintenance calories. She's at 2,000 calories for maintenance. Now we can deduct 200 calories and she's at 1,800. So much better. She's going to start losing a little bit of fat at 1,800 calories. Now we can take another 200 calories and she's back at the 1,600 calorie mark, which she was at before. And she was perfectly happy there and satisfied and satiated, and her body was loving it. But now that 1,600 calories is her deficit. Now she's at fat loss with 1,600 calories. So that's how you find it, is you find your maintenance, you stay there for long enough to know, okay, this is where I need to be for maintenance. Can I cut 200 to 500 calories from this and survive? If not, you need to get yourself to eat more for long enough that your body now knows that amount as maintenance, and then you can cut from there. So that is the best way that you can find your fat loss calorie goal, is by experimenting. There is no number that I can give you. I can't take your age, height, weight, and say your fat loss calorie goal is 1,550 calories. Because if you've only been consuming 1,400 calories and I say your fat loss calories are 1,500, now you're in a surplus. That's not your fat loss calories. So there's no magic number. That's what a lot of people are looking for. I'm not saying the person that asked this question is looking for that necessarily, but that's how it's done to find your fat loss calorie goal. Next question, can I still build muscle while only doing compound lifts and no isolation movements? So yes, absolutely. You can absolutely build muscle while only doing compound movements. So, compound movements are amazing for muscle building. You can usually lift heavy, they work multiple muscle groups like squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, lunges, hip thrusts, pull ups, things like that. Those are your compound movements. So, absolutely, you can only do those because this question is phrased. Can I only doing compound lifts? Yes, you can absolutely build muscle by only doing compound lifts. Here's the thing, compound movements are not enough to fully target every muscle group. Obviously, I mean, for example, squats and lunges work your glutes and quads, but if your goal is more glute growth specifically, then the compound movement is going to hit the squats are going to hit your lunges and your glutes equally, both, right? They're both working to get you up and down in that squat position. If you want to grow your glutes more than your quads, then you need to be doing isolation movements like cable kickbacks, abductions, single leg, single glute movements, I should say, isolation work to grow just that muscle. Overall, obviously, I mean, you see a lot of CrossFitters are only doing, not only, obviously, they throw in those isolation movements on occasion, but mostly for different sport targeting, movements like that, they are doing mostly compound movements and they have a shit ton of muscle. So you can absolutely do those things. But, presses are going to work your shoulders and triceps, but lateral raises, which are an isolation movement, are going to build your side delts in a way that pressing isn't going to work. So, yes, you can 100% build muscle only doing compound movements, but you're not going to get the isolation effect. Also, skeletal muscle is going to build a little bit better, especially in those areas if you are working on those isolation movements. So, I don't recommend no isolation movements. I don't know why you would not do isolation movements. They're very, very good for direct muscle group growth on a specific muscle group. Your delts, your glutes being rounded, that usually takes a little bit of isolation, right? Your bicep, you want to isolate your bicep, you're going to have to do those movements. Calf raises, like you can only build certain muscle groups by doing isolation movements. I shouldn't say only. Obviously, you can work your side delts doing other things, for example. But if you want to just focus on your side delts and you want them to grow faster, then yes, you're going to need to isolate them because doing some compound movements that involve your shoulders and your arms is not going to isolate that. So please do a thorough workout and do compound movements and isolation movements. But the answer is yes, you can still build muscle only doing compound movements. I just don't really recommend it. Next question. Can I please explain a deload week, when and how often to do it and how it works? This question, it's kind of the same thought process to me as progressive overload in the sense that it's hard to explain because a lot of people will think progressive overload means increasing your weight week after week after week after week. And that's not what progressive overload is. A lot of people think the same thing for deadlift, where it's like every 4 weeks, you should lift 20% less than your 1 rep max for that entire week or two to rest your muscles. Like it's so specific and it's just not like that. Okay. Basically, a deload week is a planned back off week. You know how I talk about lowering the bar, not dropping it? It's kind of a week where we plan to lower the bar. It does not need to look specific a certain way. You can literally take the whole week off and go for walks if you want to. I don't really recommend that, but that's deloading because you are cutting back on the work, right? You're backing off. The point of a deload week is for your muscles to rest and recover in a way that after the deload week, your muscles are like, yes, I am rested, I am recovered, I am bigger, I am stronger, and I am ready to go. Okay. You can do this by keeping the same workouts, but using lighter weights. That's what I do. You can also do fewer sets. You can also keep lifting, but stop further away from failure. So instead of lifting super, super heavy until you get to failure, you can stop 2 to 3 reps before that. So your muscles aren't going to failure, which is not going to work your muscles as much. You can do fewer sets. You can shorten your workouts. You can just make them shorter in length, which will then make them not as hard. You can swap some intense training for mobility, walking, stretching, or lighter movement, which is kind of what I was saying. Don't necessarily recommend not doing any workouts. But if you want to trade and I will sometimes do this too. Actually, I did this week. I started my training workout and I thought, I'm too weak to lift this. And I think it's because my body needs some rest. So essentially, I'm going to take a little bit of a deload week and I'm just going to lift lighter and I'm going to get deeper in the movements and I'm going to work on some mobility and some extra stretching. So that's exactly what I did. The point is not to lose progress. I don't want you to think that if I'm deloading, I'm going to lose my progress. It's actually the opposite. If you are deloading, it means you are lifting less volume. That can be less reps. That can be less sets. That can be less weight. Whatever it looks like, it should have you feel like, okay, I'm ready to start training hard again. So this can be a week or 2 weeks, depending on what your body is going through, right? To be able to do that. I will be honest. Most people that I see training don't need a deload week. You only need a deload week if you are training really hard, really hard. A lot of people are like, I'm taking a deload week. I'm like, you've not lifted to failure. You're not lifting heavy enough for your muscles to be so taxed that you need a deload week. I'll be honest again and say, I didn't know what a deload week felt like until I was doing a progressive overload program and where I was increasing weight every week. So this is what I recommend if you want to do a deload week, and you can do this inside of Fit Club because we have 4-week sections. This is where I learned it. And this is where I learned what it felt like in my body so that you actually will know whether you need a deload week is and what it feels like. So how Fit Club is, I'll just explain it like Fit Club. How Fit Club is we have a 4-week block. So the first week that there are new workouts showing up in Fit Club, you will use that week to essentially deload. This is going to be strict deload and strict progressive overload. So you can use that week to deload, meaning this is the first week of the workouts that are just programmed in there. You're going to not exactly know the routine, not exactly know which workout's coming, not exactly know how this is going to feel. What does it feel like to squat and then chest press? What does it feel like to chest press and then bicep curl? You don't know because it's the first week doing that. So lift a little bit lighter, get used to the workouts, track your workouts on the app or on a piece of paper, or track your weights so you know what you've been lifting. And then the next week you lift a little bit lighter, the next week you lift a little bit heavier. The next week you lift a little bit heavier. The next week you lift heaviest that you have lifted all month. So you are kind of thinking on week 1, okay, I need to go heavier, heavier, heavier. So I need to start maybe with my squats, my back squats. I'm going to start with 95. And then the next week I'm going to go to 100. The next week I'm going to go to 105. The next week I'm going to go to 110, knowing that the next week's going to be new workouts and I'm going to back off a little bit. I'm not saying that that's exactly what you need to do for your squats. That was a completely random example. Now, that won't really work for bicep curls because you're not going to go lift like 5, 10s, 15, 20s, right? You're going to have to add more reps. You're going to have to add pulses. Essentially, you're making the workout a little bit harder week after week after week, knowing that final week you are going to push so hard, so hard. Like you need to almost be like, I don't even want to show up for these workouts. They suck so bad. I'm so ready for a break. My body is so tired because the next week is a deload week. You have new workouts. You're resting, you're walking a little bit more. Maybe you're taking an extra day off. You're getting used to the workouts. That can be your deload week again. And then you're going to make it harder and harder and harder. And then another deload week. So that would be kind of the structure. That's how I personally did it. I had workouts created that were just like that. I would lift heavier, heavier, heavier. If I couldn't lift heavier, I would do like 2 more reps each week. So for bicep curls, I'm doing like 2 more reps the next week, 2 more reps the next week, 2 more reps the next week. So if you can't lift heavier, lift more reps. But essentially, I was making the workout harder for 3 weeks then, and then deloading. I will say I started to lift so heavy that I injured myself because of the progressive overload strategy that I was doing. And I started to realize I need a deload week. I also need to lift a little bit lighter. I don't need to progressively overload week after week after week. Maybe every 2 weeks, I try to lift heavier and then I have a deload week after that. But that's how you will learn what it feels like for your body. And that's essentially the whole point of it. So that's all I'm going to say for that for now, just because this is a Q&A episode and I want to get through a couple of more questions, but I can definitely do another episode on that if you want me to. Leave a message in Spotify if you want me to go into more detail on deload weeks. I'm happy to do that. Okay, next question. There's only 2 more. What percentage of resisting cravings comes down to willpower versus mindset? I could probably do a whole episode on this too. So let me know if you want me to. But honestly, I don't think cravings are solved by having more willpower. You can have more willpower for a couple of weeks, right? Willpower is part of it where I'm strong enough today. I'm not going to do this. I'm committed. I'm motivated, right? I have the willpower to do this. That's going to get you through until it doesn't. You're going to burn out. You're going to quit. You're going to say, I don't fucking want to do this anymore. I'm actually hungry. I actually want this food. If there are Oreos in your house, speaking to myself, old me, not anymore. I don't do this because I have the right mindset, not the willpower. I do have some willpower, but I don't know if it's enough. Depending on the day, it's absolutely not enough. I will actually just say it, just point blank. The other day, I had some Oreos. I had my creamy and I had 2 Oreos in it. And then afterwards, I thought, I'm going to have 2 more Oreos just because. And then I actually had 2 more Oreos in addition to that. So my willpower was shit that day. That's why you can't come down to willpower every single day. So I don't think cravings will ever be solved by willpower forever. For me and for my clients, what it comes down to is a mix of mindset, habits, environment, and whether your body is actually being fed enough. If you feel good, satiated, and you've had a little bit of sweet things for that sweet tooth, you're not feeling starving at the end of the day. And you're like, oh my God, I am just so hungry. And these Oreos are staring me in the face. You're going to eat them. Okay. If you're under eating and you're skipping meals and you're not eating enough protein and you're not eating carbs and you're saying no to every single thing and you're sleeping like shit and you're stressed out, the minute you get a craving and you're in a place to just be like, nobody's looking, you're going to give in. So I don't think willpower is the answer. Not all the time. It's a factor, but it's not the answer. Another thing I think is the answer is knowing what's good for your body. When you know I am eating to be strong, I am eating to be healthy, and part of being healthy and strong means I can have some Oreos sometimes, I can have these cravings, and I can give in to them sometimes so that I know not every single time for the rest of my life I'm going to have to say no to this particular craving or any craving. When you have cravings, sometimes give into it. Eat the freaking cookie. And then you'll know you feel like shit and you won't do it again for a while, or you'll eat it and say, literally nothing happened. I had a cookie. It was really good and I'm going to move on. So I think the knowledge, the confidence, what I talk about that all the time, knowing and understanding your body, knowing and understanding macros, knowing and understanding your goals will help you to know I can just have a craving and I can give into it, or I can have a craving and say no. But if I have the craving again tomorrow, I'm going to give into it. Right. So I definitely think that mindset matters because cravings don't have to turn into a spiral. Cravings are a natural part of life. You are going to like foods. You are going to crave certain things. You can't say no to it for the rest of your life. You literally can't. You have to say, I have some control over this. I'm having a craving. Do I want something? Yes, I want the Oreos. How many do I want? I want the whole container. But I'm going to have 2. I'm going to choose a serving. I can add that into my macros, track it. I'm going to have 2 and I'm going to see how I feel. Or I'm going to have 2 and I'm going to get the fuck out of the kitchen. That's even better, right? But willpower, you just can't. So it's mindset, it's confidence, it's knowledge, it's being part of a community where you can say, hey, I really want these Oreos, but I am really trying to be good. Maybe have the Oreos and maybe having the Oreos and only 2 of them is good, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. So I really think that's what it comes down to, is the willpower not really being the answer to that. The next thing I want to touch on, and I wish I had more time to talk about this, was I got a question that I thought was so great. And I could expand on all of these, honestly, but how did you become comfortable lifting heavy weights? This is deep for me because it took me a long time to become comfortable lifting heavy weights. But I guess what I want to say in the short period of time that I have to kind of answer this, because I don't want this episode to go too long, is I became comfortable lifting heavy weights because I started out really, really slow and I felt like I just wanted to be strong. Like I felt like I was doing these workouts and my body wasn't changing. And finally, I realized I'm not doing what needs to happen for me to change my body. If I want to be strong and look like these certain girls, I've mentioned Jamie Eason before on the podcast. I wanted to look like her. Now I don't know what she looks like. Now, if I look back on the body that I wanted to look like, I'm like, man, it was muscular and she looks amazing. And that's what I wanted to look like. But when I got there, I was like, I want more muscle. I want to be stronger. I learned to love lifting heavy weights, not only be comfortable with it, but I love to, or I learned to love it. So how did I become comfortable with it? I followed women on social media that I really looked up to because in my day to day life, I don't really have a lot of friends, family, people around me. I don't go to the gym. I lift at my house. So I don't have people in my day to day life that are living a lifestyle that I want to live or that have a body that I wanted. So I had to start following people on social media that looked how I wanted to look. And then I had to watch what they were doing. And they were lifting heavy. And when I see someone doing something, actually doing something, they're in the gym lifting heavy, and I see their body looking the way that I want mine to look, I now know they're lifting heavy and they look amazing. I need to lift heavy and I will look amazing, right? If you see someone that you know, like, and trust, and you see what they're doing, you're like, oh, I want to look like that person. I can lift heavy. So I stopped thinking I needed to keep lifting smaller because I was lifting lighter weights and I liked my body, but it wasn't exactly how I wanted to look, right? So when I realized I want muscle, I have to lift heavy. And that's all, like, that's it. Like, I have to learn to lift heavy. So I just jumped right in and did it. And it becomes more comfortable once you start doing it. You won't be comfortable doing anything until you have more reps in. So the only way to be comfortable with something is to do it over and over and over and over and over. And I'll be honest with you, I know the girl that asked this question is young, like high school young. I'm 45 and I wish I knew sooner that lifting heavy weights would make me feel so confident, so badass. It will make you look so good. You will be so strong, so athletic, unstoppable. And I wish I knew that sooner. Even if I was in high school and I knew that, I don't think that I had the willpower or the fucks to give. Like, I just didn't care about that kind of stuff. But if you do care, or if you're even in your 20s listening to this, go lift some heavy weights. Your mind will quit before your body does. Your mind is overthinking it. Pick up the weights, do it. You'll get reps in, you'll get better at it, you'll become comfortable with it, and you'll become comfortable in your body. But the best thing you can do is be surrounded by people who live the lifestyle that you're talking about and that are also comfortable lifting weights. So you can watch them, you can learn from them, you can grow with them, and you can ask them questions, and they'll be very, very honest with you. So I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments on Spotify of this episode which topics, which questions you want me to elaborate on, and I will be happy to do that. I feel like I didn't even look in the camera during this episode. I was so focused on my notes. Sorry. But I had a lot of notes written down that I wanted to make sure that I spoke on, except for this last question. This last question, the answer I just put speak from the heart. So, but the other ones I did want to touch on a couple different things. So apologize if I wasn't looking right at the camera. I'll do better. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for being here. Thank you for your questions, and I'll talk to you guys next week.